In 1987, the United States sentencing guidelines were introduced into the federal criminal justice system. The purpose of the sentencing guidelines was to promote uniformity in sentencing. You see, many times sentencing depended upon what part of the country you were located in, whether you were a man or a woman, whether you were black, white, or Hispanic. So the government wanted to promote uniformity in sentencing by taking away all of those personal issues and focusing on specific neutral issues. For instance, if it was a drug case, the quantity of drugs involved would be useful. If it was a financial crime, the amount of money involved became important. And using a myriad of factors, a formula was used to determine a sentencing range. This sentencing range could be anywhere from 0 to 6 months in prison, all the way up to 30 years to life. It was also dependent on the offender's criminal background. But in 2005, the United States Supreme Court ruled that the federal sentencing guidelines were unconstitutional. Now, rather than throw the sentencing guidelines out, the U.S. Supreme Court decided that the sentencing guidelines would be advisory. That is, they're but one of many factors for the court to take into account in determining what an appropriate sentence for that particular person would be. Now, the sentencing guidelines can be very complicated, and in order to really understand what an individual's potential sentencing exposure is when they're charged with a federal crime, you must communicate with an experienced federal criminal defense attorney. If you have questions about what can potentially happen to an individual who's charged with a federal crime, consult with an experienced criminal defense attorney who knows the sentencing guidelines, and at that time you'll get an idea of exactly what a potential sentencing range can be in the federal criminal justice system.